it is freezing cold right now, and I think the microphones are on my ears, which are probably all muffled because I'm covering them up with both a hat and a scarf. But now that you have had the weather report for me, I will actually talk about the thing that I came on here to talk about. Okay. Relaxing, checking my surroundings, learning to be a bit more observant. Make sure there's no crazy person following me. Got it. Okay. No, I'm not worried about that. I think it's funny. Not really, but that's what we're pretending. So something I've been hearing a lot lately, and maybe it's just reticular activation or whatever, but it's something I've thought about for a while now. And that's like blaming other people for your emotional state. It's really easy. I've been kind of dissecting a lot of stuff with a friend of mine. She's unpacking a lot of stuff that, heretofore has not been unpacked. So we're having lots of really great, interesting, deep conversations. And we're discussing, as you do, the mistakes your parents made. You know what I mean? Like, they did this, it fucked me up. They did this, it fucked me up. Because we all have those, right? Big and small. We all have those. So we're talking about, how X happened, or Y happened, or they did X, or they did Y, and that's why I am the way I am. And that's true. Or if you want to say I am the way I am, my brain and my psyche are the way they are. And that's true. But there's a difference between ascribing cause and effect and ascribing blame or fault. Blame and fault are completely pointless. I mean, they're useful for teaching circumstances, and they're useful for, like, punishing criminals. But in a situation like this, they're pointless. They do nothing. There is a small, tiny, tiny, tiny rock in my shoe. It's my boot. And if I were to stop and get it out, I'd have to take my entire boot off. So that's not what I'm going to do. But anyway. Blame and fault are completely useless when it comes to they made me feel this way, they did this to me, they did that to me. Yeah, true, okay, they did that. They did that. Did in the past, right? And no matter, last time not this morning, but yesterday, we were kind of talking about forgiveness and how, so this is just kind of a tangent off that, or just whatever follows naturally. If you drink poison, that's resentment, right? Resentment is when you drink a cup of poison and expect the other person to die. That's one of my favorite sayings. The other one is, whether you think you can or you can't, you're right. That's another good one. I like that one. Thanks, Henry Ford. So the resentment one, though, right? Like, the only thing that happens when you blame someone or when you're angry at someone and fault them for your hurt, nothing happens. The fact of the matter is, at the end of it all, as an adult, and being able to, have a fully formed brain and able to sort of have a bit of perspective, no one else is going to or is responsible for cleaning up the mess. And even if they were, they're not going to do it. But people behave the way they behave because they behave that way. Whether or not it was done intentionally to hurt you, I don't know, qualitatively maybe makes a bit of a difference. But it doesn't at the same time. I think it's just a little harder to get over. That shit doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, the way I look at it is my parents did best they could do given how they grew up. And I would hazard to say most parents are. I mean, maybe like 75%. You know, let's give it at least 75% of parents do the best they can. There are others that I'm sure is harder to untangle. And you know, the other thing is though, you're not wrong for feeling anger or blame or any emotion. You're not wrong to feel anything. It's just emotions. That's what's happening. That's what you're feeling, and that's it. The suffering, though, from the blame and the anger, you can choose to let go, and that's important. I mean, like, seriously, there's nothing, even if they knew, like, the catalog of incidents that I have felt in the past, you know, like, what's the word? Like, it's like written in ink, and I stand above it for self-righteous, like, you did this. Yeah. Yep. Even if they knew every single one of those things that I have declared in my mind, is why I end up suffering from this or suffering from that. And even if they knew all that, and they wanted to change and fix it all, they couldn't. So, anger and blame, those are the first things you have to give up. Those are the first things you have to give up in this kind of work, because if you're angry and blaming someone else for your misfortunes, then you can't take responsibility for them. And that was something that I had a hard time with. For the longest time, I couldn't extricate myself from blame and fault. But blame and fault, not of others, of myself, right? Which is a little harder, I think, to let go. Because, you know, when you feel that way about yourself, yeah, you don't really have compassion. So I think that letting go of your anger and your blame, guilt, anger, and feelings of fault, in any case, whether it's against someone else or against you, you can't move forward if you continue to have those. You can't. Excuse me. So, okay, slight irritation. I'm noticing that. There's no reason for it. They have every right to come out of that door as slowly as they wanted to and to stand right in front of me, even though that they saw me, that I was walking down the sidewalk, and they just decided to come out and stand right there. They had every right to do that. And I'm just feeling a lot of irritation because of it. But I'm going to stop talking about it, because that's just going to continue to make me irritated. And really, does that need to happen? No. Okay. So, back to what I was saying. If you can't take responsibility, I saw taking responsibility for things as blame. I blamed myself for so much, and I hated myself for so much, and I could not move forward. You know, and I remember I had this session with my therapist where it was like, just gonna make sure, every once in a while. Anyway, I was having a conversation with my therapist, and we were talking about bipolar. We were discussing bipolar 2, the mood disorder that we were pretty sure that I had. You know, and one of the good things I liked about that therapist was that she didn't like putting labels on something. She put labels on things because she had to prescribe medication, and that was about it. She just, she just sees a collection of symptoms. And everybody's totally unique and different in their collections, right? Anyway, we're discussing it, and I was saying, like, how it made me feel better to know that, like, I wanted a diagnosis. Like, I wanted to know that I have bipolar 2 disorder. And she's like, why? And I was like, well, then I can blame it on what did I say? Well, because then then I can, it's because of that I did this. It's because of that I did that. And she's like, well, no. If you take responsibility for it, it's better to realize that you did it and that you have to take responsibility for it. And I was just like, I don't want that. I don't want that. And she's like, why? And I just remember sitting there. It was like this back and forth between the two of us. And just like, because I couldn't name it. I couldn't say it. I couldn't figure out what exactly it was that I was thinking. But she was trying to get me to claim responsibility for past actions that had caused problems so that I could then have agency to act differently in the future and repair the damage. But I was like, I don't want that. And she's like, why? You have to take responsibility. And I was like, I don't know. She's like, well, what is it? What's the problem? Why do you want this to be true? Why do you want it to be the fault of, why do you want it to be the fault of this disorder? And I just came out with because then I'm not to blame, I'm not to blame for all this stuff. And that is what was keeping me back for a long time, blaming myself for actions that I took to hurt myself, whether intentioned or not, because frankly, some of them were intentioned to hurt me. I don't really like this scary, dark section. We're good, though. It's fine. I didn't have to name it scary, did I? I didn't. Anyway, point being, I'm just babbling now, but I don't like that word. Point being that blame and guilt, whether it's for yourself or some other person, stops you from growing. It stops you from taking agency, taking responsibility, but not in the sense of taking responsibility, oh, it's my fault, but taking responsibility in the sense that, like, oh, I'm the only one who can change it. And I think if that had been explained to me back then that way, I think maybe that would have entered my brain better. It's not about blame. Even though, I don't know if I would have been able to hear that. It's not about blame. It's not about anger. It's not about guilt. It's not about punishing. It's about seeing the fact that you are the only one who can change it. And that being the case, if you want things to be different, you have to change. Right? You can't continue doing what you're doing and expect things to change. So that's my little thought for the day. Maybe I talked a little more. You guys know I like to talk. These things come out. They just keep going and going and going. See? Anyway, that's what I wanted to say. I wanted to discuss. I hope that was useful because, my suggestion for anybody who felt the way I used to feel about that, with blame and guilt and hatred, whether towards yourself or to other people, when you feel it, notice it. Feel in your body where it's tight. Take a deep breath and relax all the places that are tight in your body. And for me, a lot of it's in my gut. And just keep doing it every time those feelings come up. And eventually they will lessen. Maybe one day they'll go entirely. But right now they've lessened quite a bit for me. And I've been able to move. I've been able to make forward motion in my life, Ugh, it's so cold. Trying to keep my neck warm. Ugh, okay. So, do that, relax and release, and then look at, see, back then I would have thought that I was not capable of doing the tasks that needed to be done. Like that I was like capable, but that I wouldn't, and I wouldn't trust myself to do anything. It's such a hard thing. Depression's so hard, guys. It really does suck. It's not just one thing, it's a billion things. And you have to move through them all to get anywhere. So you have my heart, guys, if that's what you're going through. I know it sucks, but you can come out. It's a long climb. It's a hard one. It's something the other day it sort of came into my head. It's like, God, the more I am able to climb, the deeper I realize the hole was. Like the more I climb out, the deeper I realize the hole is. So start climbing, guys. Stop shoveling, start climbing. That's all I can say. And the place where it can start is gratitude. Right? We have to be grateful. And I remember being depressed and being like, screw that shit, there's nothing to be grateful for, and I'm not going to think about being grateful because I am miserable and I can't be grateful right now. It's just too awful. Got it. No, totally. I get it. I get that. I would get angry at the thought of being grateful. Like, what the hell are you talking about? There's nothing to be grateful here. Air? Low bar. You know, that's the sort of thing. And it makes so much sense. It makes so much sense when you think that way. I just would encourage you all to consider the idea that there's a different way to think. There's a different way to react to your thoughts and to your emotions. And that gratitude can actually help. But you know what? If it makes you angry, that's something to notice and to relax and release about, right? Anyway, I'm going to stop there because it's been a while. And I'm going to end like I always do, guys. Because even if you're feeling like there's nothing to be grateful for, you're just not seeing it. And I know it's like, don't tell me I'm just not seeing it. I know I'm just not seeing it. I'm purposely not seeing it because I don't want to be grateful. Great. Great. Yeah, that's how I used to think. It's really sad. But I'm just going to assure you, anybody who feels that way, I'm going to assure you that as you work, and you can do it, as you work, eventually, one day, you will realize that you can always choose to have a great